say I'm so grateful for Peter coming in, because I went in because I was interested in chairs and things like that. I went into Peter and Charlotte's shop on Kings Road.
Yeah.
When I was 19, so what, 27. 27 years ago, because they were the kings of chairs, and I've made these two metal welded chairs in when we were doing architectural metal replacement and was sort of engaging with this, what it meant to make chairs and what this sort of particular scale, and Peter, what you represented the whole world. I didn't know what to do. I think I waved the black and white picture of the it's amazing.
Oh, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for having me here. Well, this is the most awesome lineup of chairs I can tell you. This is for chair nerds only. So, there's a lot of things you can say about chairs. I mean, it's a massive big story about the chair, its evolution, but one of the most interesting aspects of the story of the chair and how it's evolved is the drive for structural unification. And I mean, the reason I say that is because in this lineup of chairs, we have the most commercially successful and the most technically successful chairs of all time. So this talk is about that drive for structural unification. And what I mean by that is single materials, single forms. I mean, it's a really big story, actually, in itself, and quite a technical story, I'm sure, as you all know. And it's a little optimistic to think that I can boil it down into 45 minutes, but I'm going to give it my best shot. And I've been wanting to do this for decades. I've never given this talk. I don't know if it's ever been given. Certainly, with Alex's help, we've been very fortunate in bringing together all the most important chairs in this story. And, you know, in my 25 years of writing about chairs and studying chairs, I've never seen a lineup like this. I think this is the first time it's ever happened. I'm pretty sure. So I'm really stoked. Okay, so why is structural unification interesting or important? Well, I mean, I think most people would agree that there's something deeply satisfying or magical even about wholeness or oneness in manufactured forms. I mean, structurally unified products, to me, and I'm sure to a lot of other people, can be, you know, really very satisfying, very, very pleasing, aesthetically, intellectually, and, you know, even functionally, very, very pleasing. And they're also the most, generally, and more often than not, they're also the most efficient types of products to industrially manufacture. I mean, material, energy, and cost can all be saved with, you know, single material, single form type products. A structurally unified product can also be stronger, more durable, more hygienic, and more easily recycled than, you know, a product made up of component parts. So, for that reason, for quite a long time, structural unification has been held up as a kind of holy grail in product design. But getting back to the chairs, I mean, the desire for simplification and a reduction of elements in chair design led naturally onto the drive for structural unity. As you can see, it's an evolution laid out chronologically. It started very early. The desire for simplification and reduction of elements. It started very early, in 1859. And the idea was, and remains, as I've kind of already alluded to, and sorry if it's slightly obvious, stating the obvious, but, you know, the fewer the parts, the more rational the construction, the easier and cheaper it is to manufacture and sell any kind of product, let alone a chair. So probably from the beginning of the modern era, the dream was to make chairs, for lack of a better metaphor, like road cars. And the dream was realized, and on a scale like nobody could ever have imagined. I mean, I can still even do it today. But what did it mean? Well, as we'll see in this little talk, just because something can be realized technically doesn't necessarily mean it should. Not unless, there's some sound thinking behind it and probably a lot of moral underpinnings. So, getting stuck into these chairs now. It's fascinating that in this lineup we have, without question, the most successful chairs, both commercially and technically, of all time. And not just, and this is the interesting bit, not just in terms of like individual models, but in terms of types. So what chair do you think in all of these, just off the top, do you think is the most commercially successful chair of all time? I should specify model, the most successful model of all time. It's this guy. Number 14, Michael Tone, 1859. 50 million chairs. Up until 1930, then they lost count. Okay? I mean, the whole thing was got up as an exercise in how to most efficiently mass produce a chair. Okay, so reduce, reduce, reduce. Basic form is based on a Biedermeier chair, that's the outline. But 9 major main structural elements. The one that really sold was the cafe chair, the one without arms. Okay, but it was the same chair, just didn't have the arms. 7 structural elements. The one with arms has 9 structural elements. This is a very early Vienna model. This was made by the Gebr. Tone in Vienna. This is a really fine example, and also check this out. One of the earliest examples of plywood in mass production. It's a seat. They stamped it out. Made plywood, 1859. Come on. So anyway, yeah, 1859. I mean, nobody really talks about this in the history of chairs, except for something. Okay, you were right. The monoblock is, without question, the highest selling, most commercially successful type of chair. We'll get to that in a minute, okay? So anyway, back to the Tone. Now, the reason I brought in the number 9 chair, which is a really lovely chair, both of these belong to Charlotte. They reside in our kitchen, is because you can see the trend here. So we've gone from 9 structural elements now to 7. And this is a really cool chair. Nobody really knows who designed this chair. It's kind of unattributed. One day, maybe a name will come up. It could have been done in-house by the Tone people. Anyway, 20 years after this chair was designed in 1904, it was deemed like a proto-modern masterpiece. And Corbusier used it everywhere, not least L'Esprit de Beau, Wiesenhofsiemann, and on and on and on. And it's a beautiful little chair showing the kind of a trend from basically 9 elements to 7 elements. And it's without doubt a technical masterpiece entirely intended for mass production. It's a big jump from there, 1904, to 1940. I don't have the chair I want to show here, but I have the original catalog. Organic Design and Home Furnishings, the competition held at the Museum of Modern Art in 1940. Charles E. and Errol Sarin partnered on the creation of an astonishing program of chairs. I can show you the pictures, but I can't show the actual chairs because I don't have a spare 100,000 pounds to own one. But if you go to the Vitra Chair Museum, they've got a couple. I think they've got this one, this very one here, actually. So this was the first prize-winning set of chairs, series of chairs. What was unbelievably innovative about these chairs, here, was that they had, it was the advent of the single-form, plywood, monocoque seat shell. Okay, compound molded, that's the key word. Okay, Alto was doing beautiful plywood chairs, obviously 20 years before that, but he couldn't compound mold chairs. I mean, I think there was one precedent where he actually achieved a little bit of a compound mold. So these are compound molded plywood seat shells, lined with foam rubber, which, and this is the key thing, enabled continuous contact and support without any, obviously, of traditional springing. Bent over 3 geometric planes. Now, it's unbelievably difficult to achieve in a way that's aesthetically pleasing because you get all this spherical deformation in the bend, right? Where the seat transitions to the back. We'll get onto that with this one. So the chairs were being tortured into form, and they were deforming in certain key places, and so therefore Eames and Saarinen had no other choice but to fully upholster the dam shells, so it couldn't be seen, the deformation. It was an okay solution. What they really wanted was naked backs. I think there was one chair, the side chair, where they were enabled a naked back, but mostly they had to be completely upholstered. Because it was the advent of the compound molded seat shell, getting onto structural unification, because it facilitated continuous contact and support, there's a lot of people that consider those the most important chairs ever. And I mean in the whole history of chairs. And I would sort of agree with that. I think probably this one tops it, but I'll get to that in a second. Anyway, 1940, America joins the war. The whole point of the competition was that the furniture that was shown there would be manufactured by an American furniture, an array of furniture manufacturers. In the case of the Saarinen chairs, it was Heatherwick Studio in collaboration with the Haskelite Corporation. It came to nothing because of war, materials restrictions, and so on and so on. But the key thing was this, is that everything Eames and Saarinen did from that point on was influenced 100% by those chairs. I mean, think about Eames chairs. I mean, that's a lot. Those chairs is where it all started. So the reason I brought in this chair isn't necessarily because it's representative of an important benchmark in the story of structural unification, but it does demonstrate a typical Eamesian solution to this problem of spherical deformation in the bending process, right? This is where it happens, here and here. So he says, okay, I'm going to solve that. Separate the elements. Separate back, separate seat. Remove all the stuff to do with deformation. So, because the seat and back were molded separately in a compound way, then they could be left naked. They didn't have to be covered. So that's a really cool solution. 5 structural elements on this chair. The key to this chair's success, ultimately, was the connections. Eames was always going on about the connections, the connections, the connections. What he was referring to in the first instance was the way the legs were connected to the moment chairs, but then, more importantly, in terms of production, to the way the plywood elements were connected to the laminated structural elements of it. Everybody knows this chair. What's different about this one? Back isn't drilled. This is a pre-production prototype that was given by Charles to Alexander and Doris Knox, who are actors in Hollywood, were blacklisted. Alex was English. He had to leave the US, move to Berwick-upon-Tweed. I mean, no kidding. I mean, pretty obscure place, right? I mean, Berwick actually is quite nice, especially if you're into fishing. But anyway, so they had to hightail it out of Hollywood. Eames felt so sorry for them. Who knows, he might have had an affair with Doris, but anyway. He gave them this damn chair, and it makes a really special chair. It's been upholstered, it's been veneered in lacewood, which was like an exotic thing they never put in production. I bought it for a private client of mine. It's the finest LCW you'll ever see, without question. But it fits nicely in the story, and it kind of relates to the moment chair, so that's why I brought it in. But the more important chair is this one. Okay, so 1948 to 1950. Eames is thinking about shells, new materials applications. War's finished, no more shortages. Hey, there's this new material, fiberglass reinforced polyester. It's used for like crash helmets and things like that. How could we apply this to a chair? Well, he was walking around somewhere in LA one day, saw a little fishing boat with a couple of seats in the boat. And some guy who made the boat hulls had mocked up these little seats. Big, major light bulb. Holy cow. Plastic chairs. So anyway, Eames bought one of the two off this guy, took it back to his studio, and then began working with Zenith Plastics Company in California, the engineering department at UCLA, Herman Miller. By this time, he was linked up with Herman Miller. And created, with Ray, his dear wife, what I think to be the most important chair ever designed. More important than the MoMA chairs for this reason. One is, he achieved for mass production the dream of the single form, single material shell. It was the first ever mass-produced chair in plastic. And not only that, but it was the first mass-produced, large-scale, durable consumer item in plastic ever. So that's got to be the most important chair of all time, right? Don't you think? I mean, what a thing. But if that wasn't enough, then it was the first, like, comprehensive, integrated seating program ever. In that, it was based on a universal seat shell, and there was an armless version, okay? With interchangeable bases of all, yeah, exactly, that's it, right? Well, that's the, is that the LaFonda? Sorry, it could be an evolution, but anyway, that's what I'm getting onto, is it's an armless version, right, with an interchangeable base. So there are beam versions, height adjustable versions, upholstered versions, on and on and on and on. That was the first kind of program like that. Major benchmark in this story. Then we get to this one here. Everybody knows it. 3107 from the famous Arnie Jacobson Series 7. This example comes from St. Catherine's College, which was Jacobson's Gesamtkunstwerk, which, if you haven't been to, it's definitely worth the trip. It's awesome. It's interesting that they use these chairs eventually in the main dining room, but when the project was first completed, it was a male-only student body, so they had benches instead of chairs. But when they allowed girls in, for reasons of decorum, they didn't want the gals swinging their legs over the benches. So they swapped out the benches for chairs, which was great for Fritz Hansen, because they needed like thousands of them. Because every room had one or two in it. So anyway, we managed to get hold of some. So okay, this chair is based also on the universal seat shell idea. Okay, now there's a version with arms, but it's not integrated for the reason that of the spherical deformation. I mean, this is a major problem when you're trying to bend wood across three geometric planes. It deforms, it doesn't like it, it's being tortured. So Jacobson, like Eames, said, let's get rid of the problem. Let's cut it out. So they simply removed the material where the deformation is happening and created the classic wasted form with this lovely little smile. Saying hello. This chair, I mean, this is one of the biggest selling chairs of all time. Okay? So this chair, this model in the range, okay, so this is Series 7, again, versions with arms, versions on height adjustable bases, pedestal, casters, beams, tablets, you name it, right? It's really comprehensive. Within the range, this chair has sold over 7 million examples to present day. Fritz Hansen can make like 5,000 a week. I mean, for plywood, that's pretty awesome, I think. But it was a more efficient solution than the Eames chair. I mean, I think the Eames is really like plywood, but they quickly realized this is where all the action is right here. I mean, that's basically the trend in this story, too. You can see that. Okay, next, Eros Hernan, Eames's great buddy. This was the first serious attempt at a wholly unified chair in plastic. I mean, it would have been so cool if you pulled it off, because Eros Hernan was a hell of an architect. What he wanted to do famously was clear up the slum of legs. And around dining tables, right? I mean, think about it. You got 4 legs from the dining table, you got 6, 8 chairs, how many? And it is a slum of legs. So he said, look, let's get rid of all this noise, all this nonsense. Let's make a one-piece chair. 1955 to 56. Unfortunately, plastics technology wasn't sufficiently advanced at that time, as we'll learn more with Bernard Panton here in a minute. So what he had to do was create a shell, again, with arms and without, and marry it to a cast aluminium, plastic-coated base, which, visually created a unified solution, but was unfortunately a marriage. I mean, it's an okay marriage. I mean, it's a gorgeous thing. I mean, I really prefer the one with arms. It's like way prettier than this, which is quite utilitarian, But this is a really beautiful thing. And I mean, the only downside to the marriage of the base to the shell was that they had to, on the bottom of the shell, there's a connection that shows through. So they had to use a cushion to cover that, which, okay, makes the chair more comfortable, but, the dream of a unified form, it's gone, right? But it was a big success anyway. Polyprop. After this number 14 chair, this is the biggest selling chair of all time. Specifically, the side chair. Again, it's a universal seat shell, arms and without arms, and an even more comprehensive and integrated system of interchangeable bases. Okay, so this is, without question, the biggest selling institutional school chair of all time. And it's British. It's one of the great British success stories, one of the great British industrial designs of all time. Robin Day was just a genius. Mostly he was working in wood, but this was something special. I mean, it was the first ever single form injection molded polypropylene shell. I mean, polypropylene had only been invented in like 1954. So 1962 to 63, Shell is developing a type of polypropylene. Shell goes today and says, let's find an application. A lot like BASF did with Constantine. We'll get to it in a second. Day says, okay, well I know the Eameses, because Helly, who made this chair, was selling, was a licensed dealer of the Herman Miller furniture, right? So this was totally well known. He said, well, let's make it even more efficient in production. Let's make it even cheaper and more accessible and more democratic. Let's injection mold it polypropylene. And by God they did. So what a great success story. I mean, everybody's seen the armed version on beams in airports. Usually they're upholstered. Fantastic process-led design. It's a masterpiece. Okay, so I should say, it's quite interesting. From here on, sort of including the monoblock, everything is made by Italians. Okay? So, I mean, do you remember, like, 1954, Dr. Giulio Natta invents polypropylene in Italy. And the Italians take over. Okay, so, Joe Combo, 4860 Universale chair. It was the first ever entirely injection molded chair in a thermoplastic. Okay, it started out in ABS, which made it very shiny and nice and easy to clean. Then it went on to what this one is made in, which is a polyamide, which is basically nylon. And then it went over to polypropylene. For reasons I don't know yet, I'm going to have to research this. It didn't make the chair in one piece, and I have a suspicion it was probably because of cost. Has anyone ever seen an injection molding tool? They're huge, solid blocks of stainless steel, okay? They have to be machined up to the highest degree of accuracy. It is insanely expensive. So it could have been, I mean, it might have been for technical reasons they didn't make it in one piece. Probably it was to cost reasons. So they had to mold the legs separately. But Colombo, being the genius he was, said, okay, well look, we have to do the legs separately. Let's make 3 different types. Bar height, dining height, lounge height. And so they basically got a shell with these interchangeable legs, which made, ironically, sort of paradoxically, the chair more universal than if it had been molded in one piece. Because surely to God, they wouldn't have done like bar height dining. Well, they couldn't have done bar height. I mean, think of the size of the tool. I mean, that's the thing probably, is that it wasn't viable. Anyway, it's still nonetheless a really important benchmark in the story because it was the first wholly injection molded. I should specify adult-sized chair because there's Richard Sapper that done earlier, kid's chair, in the same way with the seat with interchangeable legs. But it was a tiny little thing. That's the first adult one. Okay, so now, major moment. Panton, a wild man. Truly. This chair was designed in 1959 to 1960. And it was based on some earlier molded plywood paradigms that he had done. Interestingly enough, made by Tone of all people. He's going for the wholly unified chair. Right? He links up with the Fellbaum family. Willie Fellbaum, legendary, and then Rolf, his kid, was a big part in how this chair was developed. It's an amazing story. It took an enormous investment on the part of Vitra. I mean, it was easy. It took them years to get it to the point where they could make the damn in fiberglass. I mean, it wasn't until 1967 when they made like a couple hundred off in FRP. Then, from 1968 to 1971, polyurethane hard foam. I mean, they wanted to inject the chair, but how are you going to get a tool that size? I mean, think about it, how much money it was going to cost. And, okay, I mean, the chair in date should be here, but I put it here in 1971 because that's when it happened, okay? So in a state-of-the-art thermoplastic, they've got it. The first single form, single material, injection molded chair. What an achievement. What a moment, okay? But after all that investment, all that effort, all that dreaming, what did it amount to? I mean, it didn't amount to much, actually. It didn't amount to any commercial success. I mean, look at the thing. I mean, it's gorgeous, yeah, but I mean, you can see it in hospitals, you can see it in schools, I mean, it's not like this. It's not like this. It's just a big hunk of plastic. I mean, it's nice, and it's heavy. It doesn't stack. It's okay, it stacks okay, but I mean,
3 or 4.
Yeah. But I tell you what it amounted to. The chair is a road cone, okay? The monoblock, oh my God. Curse of so many picturesque squares across Europe, town squares, you know, that in many of them they banned them because. Somehow or another, okay, so the first monoblock appears in 1973, thanks to a Frenchman, a guy called Henry Massenet. 1973, he comes up with this thing called the Boston chair. No one's ever seen a photo of it. But I'm assured by, well, Fiell passed away now, but when we stayed with him in France, he told me about how he was very friendly with Massenet, and by God, Massenet came up with this invention, which is, without question, the highest selling invention in the whole history of furniture design ever, okay? He had a company called Stamp, and somehow or another was able to afford, you know, the tooling and the realization of the very first monoblock of this kind. Now, probably it was a much higher quality thing than this one, or than most of them now. I mean, the thing is, with so many different players jumping on board, the dream of producing chairs is road cones. You know, the volume that was achieved was insane, which meant that the costs were driven down, lower and lower. And it was like a race to the bottom. I mean, they were going insane. You know, with higher and higher and higher volumes, quality was going lower and lower and lower. And it was just the most brutal, and I mean, it still is, in competitive marketplace. I mean, I bought this chair 2 weeks ago for this talk for $8.99 from Ryman's. $8.99, inclusive of that. And I mean, it's just stupid. And this one's made in China. I mean, it was made in China. It's come all the way to the UK, and it's like dirt cheap. So the problem was with these ever-increasing volumes and ever, competitive manufacturing industry, the race to the bottom, cheaper and cheaper and cheaper chairs. You get to the point where they become disposable. Even at $8.99, it's basically disposable. I mean, and they can get a lot cheaper than that. I mean, what happens normally is a manufacturer, a big one like Grossflex or Alibert, when the tools kind of run out, when they consider the tools no good anymore, they sell them to manufacturers in India and Russia, and they continue pumping them out. And what's more is, very often they'll put additives and fillers to the. This one's made in polypropylene. That's the more common material used for a monoblock. Which means what? Even if you wanted to, you couldn't recycle it because of the crap in the plastic, right? It's completely adulterated. So, how sad, kind of, that this is where the story. What? This is where the story ends. This is the road cone, the dream. What? Oh my God. 26 years later. Okay, I'm saying 1973, yeah, then 26 years later, Jasper, says the name. Jasper Morris. Air chair. Oh my God. What a masterpiece. What a process-led, essentialist masterpiece. He demonstrates the nobility of plastics after years of monoblock. And how does he do that? With the process, which is gas assist injection molding. Okay, so it's really unbelievably cool process. Nitrogen gas is injected into the molding process at just the right time and at just the right pressure, usually quite high pressure, to create a hollow cavity. So what does that mean? Less material, shorter cycle times, less energy. Okay? Win, and it stacks. It's indoor, outdoor. Okay, it's Jasper-like, but it's very cool. It's very successful. Wonderful, wonderful chair. Okay, high selling chair. I think I won it from also. I'm pretty sure I should have looked at it. Next one up, Stark. You would have thought Stark would have got there before Jasper, but I didn't. The Louis Ghost chair wasn't the first transparent polycarbonate chair Stark did. An earlier one, not so famous, called La Marie, 1998. Interesting, that was the year the first iMac came out. Transparent polycarbonate, Johnny Ive changes the world. But Stark was definitely on trend with the transparency thing, right? I mean, this chair is unbelievably high selling too. I mean, it's probably the highest selling chair of the 21st century. Hundreds of thousands of these chairs have been sold. I mean, it's a major hole-in-one for Stark and Cartel who made it. I think one of the reasons for that is that it appeals to people who would not normally buy modern furniture, I mean, let alone plastic furniture, right? I mean, it looks really cool next to period, 18th century brown furniture. It's got this, it's a sort of a funky aesthetic that it sets off. But love them or loathe them. I mean, Stark, I think, is a master form giver. And I think the choice of the crystal, polycarbonate, polycarbonate here, is brilliant because it's got like this jewel-like aesthetic, which again kind of like reveals the nobility of plastics. I mean, plastics are good materials when used responsibly and intelligently. Right? We shouldn't discount plastics when used in a really good way. Which brings me on to Ross's supernatural chair. Ross is another master form giver. He has this really cool, sort of organic, essentialist language of design he's been honing over years. So he takes the gas assist technology, takes Jasper's air chair, and he makes it fat-free, and he makes it sexy, as only Ross can, right? I think it's a better chair. It's one of my favorite chairs of all time. And it's like the air chair, it's indoor, outdoor, stacks really well. It's pretty robust. And the cool thing is, the perforations here, they serve a number of purposes. One is they reduce materials and weight. And they also provide a handhold. But what's really nice, it's kind of poetic, is that when the sun is just right, it goes through the chair, casts these really dancing, leaf-like shadows. It's really, really nice. Okay, then we move on to what can really only be seen as an evolution of the Panton cantilever chair, right? So that's Constantine, as ever, getting the most with the least. So he's responding to a brief from BASF here, who tasked him with finding an application for their latest, technopolymer, which in this case was ultra-dirt high speed. This was a really big deal. Did you see the installation in Milan when they launched this chair? They had like an injection molding machine going the whole thing. It was all caged off. It was basically a little production line. Funded entirely by BASF. I think that's really interesting. It was the manufacturing material going straight to the designer. There was no manufacturer. I mean, it turns out to be Planck, the Italian company that makes the chair, but it was really driven. The whole thing was driven by BASF. So the thing about this polymer, like its name suggests, it's a really durable, thermoplastic that, because it has such a high flow rate, it can pick up all these amazing details. And so Constantine said, well, okay, let's perforate the seat shell to get less material, less weight, faster cycle times. So this chair is win-win-win. It stacks pretty well, but it's a cantilever chair, right? Which is like Panton's, limited stackability. Okay, we end the story with another masterpiece, process-led, chair in plastic. In this case, now I don't know, Thomas, whether this one is actually polyethylene. It doesn't look like it, but the version I'm kind of more familiar with is the polyethylene version. Is that polyethylene? Yeah.
I think that's polycarbonate.
Yeah, it's transparent, right? Anyway, I think Thomas's Fun chair is maybe one of the, if not the greatest expression of the rotational molding process. I mean, it's a masterpiece. And about rotational molding, right? I mean, it's ideal for large forms with hollows. And it's a very sort of cost and energy and material efficient way of molding chairs. And normally they're big blocky things, or big cylinders like garbage cans or whatever. I mean, the chair is such a cool form. I mean, I'll never forget the retrospective we had at the DNA in 2012. The one thing I remember at that show, I'll never forget it, were the queues of people waiting to sit in the chairs outside the entrance. I mean, they were patiently waiting minutes, half an hour to get a seat in one and try it out. You had 4 there, I think. It was unbelievable. So, and so an appropriate place to end, because it's a wholly unified, process-led masterpiece in plastic that so deservedly won Compasso d'Oro in 2014. Well done. That's the end of it. Now I have to get all these chairs back in my car.
What's your opinion on, it was a massive difference on the right-hand side of the room, on the left-hand side of the room, on kind of sulfur.
On what, sorry?
Sulfur.
Yeah.
The plastics.
Yeah, I know.
How can you stop it being dead stuff?
Yeah.
The photographs, the very first one,
Yeah.
life and interest.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
When they start doing these
I know.
properly,
Yeah.
they still
Yeah. It's right. I mean, with Ross's chair, for example, I think it's unbelievably paradoxical that the material that best expresses the abstract essence of nature is in fact a synthetic one. And I think everything Ross does has soul. It comes deep within. Ross gets bad rap, but he's a genius. He's a master, and he's a master from giver. And that chair has soul, and it's it's glass reinforced polypropylene, like this one, glass reinforced polypropylene, and it's a highly technical material. But somehow or another, through the poetic form that he achieves, he manages to infuse it with some soul and poetry. But you're right. The least poetic or soulful chair is this rubbish. I think it's right. This chair, this is a very early one, okay? You can see that, see this rope edge that goes around. To chair nerds like me that collect these chairs, this really matters. So this is like the first edition chair. Okay, so it's got this rope thing going on that we put around the whole. It's all quite labor intensive. There's some debate about really whether we can say this was really mass produced. It was all laid out by hand, hand finished. How much volume can you really achieve? But let's, for argument's sake, say it was kind of mass produced. It wasn't like mass produced on that level. But I'd say the chair that has the most soul here is the 2014 chair. Simply because I sit in it every day at breakfast. But no, it's true. I guess it depends what your aim is. If your aim is commercial success, are you going to get that necessarily with soul? That's why I like the sponge chair so much, because it's got some poetry, it's got inventiveness, it's got soul.
We call the ridges in Triton, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. I know.
3D printers, we've got 3D printers, and it's still about 3D printers. But you pull it out, it's still nice.
Yeah.
It's an amazing shape.
Yeah. Crack that one, you got a winner. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think there's a tremendous opportunity for somebody that has the right motivations and the right skills to think about things like you just said, to do this for the 21st century. This is where the money is, okay? And this is where, you're talking about democratic design. This is how you're going to reach people. This is how you're going to change people's lives. This is how you're going to make yourself sacrifice money, too. Let's face it, you got to do it, right? So, where is the 21st century polyprop? Come on, someone's got to do it, Thomas. You do this. It's a no-brainer. Look at it. Join the dots. Where's the opportunity?
Where is the efficiency? What's wrong with the last one? Why? That isn't a singular thing.
Yeah. Well,
what's the thing that we can...
Yeah, there's two things going on here. really. There's the drive for structural unification, okay, which has been achieved in really interesting and innovative ways. How far commercially can you take any one structurally unified solution? I mean, the big commercial successes, this one and this one in particular, okay?
Is that because of schools and universities?
It's because of the interchangeability. It's the program. Like this is, this and this are the biggest selling seating programs ever created. And that's simply because it was based on a shell with multiple interchangeable bases. So come up with a really cool poetic shell and some nicely conceived bases. Boom, you've got a program. It's the program. That's where the money is. I mean, that's what I think. I mean, that's what history tells us, right? It's got to be the 21st century poem of God, I tell you. I think so. Yeah. I mean, this was by far the most important thing I did. No, but you could make it more. I mean, this is totally process-led, right? This is brutal. And they became kind of hateful because of that. So they did the upholstered versions. But I mean, why can't you come up with a really lovely, more ergonomic?
It's price the thing that was assigned. It was because of the price.
Well, the technology allows the lowest prices you can go to.
The schools now,
No way. They're too dangerous. They can be thrown. I mean, feel the weight of them. I mean, look at them. I mean, kids are going to throw it at each other. There's nothing to that chair. I know. It's not nice. Not nice. It's the dreaded monocline. That's great.
Any more questions?
Yep.
From my limited understanding of the car manufacturing world, part of around the 50s and 60s, the reason they produced different models, different spoiler types, different panels, was due to the deterioration of molds. So
Yeah.
they introduced a new model, but it was basically because their mold was failing and then they tried something for a bit more. Does that happen in chair manufacture as well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly, like with the monoblock, how many chairs they can get out of any one particular tool. But as I was saying, I mean, they wear out, but they're not killed dead. They still have a bit of life, and so they sell on the tools to, makers in the developing world who knows how long they go on pumping out the chairs. But I know they probably achieve at least the equivalent volume that the primary manufacturer achieved. But the chairs are pretty inferior, to be honest.
But other than selling them on, would they then look at modifying the molds or changing the molds to then try and get another?
Yeah. I forgot to tell you something. There is an Italian manufacturer, and I'm sure he's not the only one. 50,000 a day. That's a football stadium of chairs a day. This is the volume I'm talking about. I mean, it's out of this world. That's how you get a chair for like pence. I mean, I can't conceive of 50,000 manufactured things being made. And more often than not a human hand touches them. It is totally automated. Pellets come in one end, box, wrap, stacks of chairs, while on the other end, not a human hand touches them in between. That's pretty scary. That's a hell of a lot of plastic going into the garden, right? And it's like lousy plastic. It's not nice plastic. There is nice plastic. Polymethyl on the private is nice plastic. This is nice plastic, but that is not.
Does the original design show only molecular properties? That way, is he getting cut of the 50,000?
That's a really interesting question. We've seen the patents that Massenet filed for another chair. And it would be interesting to look into that more deeply to see whether it was the form that was being painted or the process. I mean, I kind of doubt it would be the process, right? I think it was the form. I mean, for these damn monoblocks, the most important feature is this. Because that's how they stack. And they stack like Pringle potato chips, really efficiently. So you go into, you know, I don't know, B&Q or whatever, and you can see a stack of 50. You know. Well, actually, B&Q, they don't want to know about this anymore. None of these big, DIY type shops or garden centers, they don't want to touch this. I mean, monoblocks are, completely anathema. I mean, on the continent, it's a different story. But in the UK, it's hard to find one, actually. And I found one in writing. But, so what are they doing instead? Teak furniture. I mean, that's as stupid, isn't it? I mean, maybe there's another opportunity. Wow.
I've lived in New York for many years, and apartments are much smaller than we did in London. But the folding chair is a very important accessory for at least our studio in New York. So Justin Morrison as well is a great version of an air chair.
Yeah.
Are they overlooked in the design? Do you have a similar talk you could do about folding chairs?
That's a really interesting thought. Thank you. I'll thank that one. No, that's another talk. Jasper's folding air chair is another masterpiece. I just sat in one last night in a Chinese restaurant of all places. Yeah. They need to bring out some extra seating. They have all these folding air chairs. I was most impressed. No, there's a whole history to that too, and it goes back to the 19th century, not surprisingly. I didn't mean to diss the Panton chair too much. I mean, it was a major benchmark, and it's a rightly celebrated chair. But what did it lead to? Put this one back a little.